speaker, Mrs. Geeta Sidurov. She's the CEO and founder of Nosh Detox Delivery, which is an organic food and alternative therapy company. I think I'm oversimplifying. It's much more than that, but that's the best way to sum it up. She was formerly a corporate negotiator for a telecom company. She is also a LSE graduate. She had a law degree. And an interesting story was she was inspired by her children to set up a multi-award winning business after her high-flying law career. So I'm sure she can tell us more about that. Give it up for Mrs. Geeta Siru.
Give it up, like a rock star. I have a list of questions here, and I may stick to them. I may not stick to them. Thank you for inviting me to be here this evening. I got this invitation in about 2 weeks ago when I was trying to persuade my family to move to Malaysia. And I was like, can we move? It's hot, it's beautiful, let's just go and live in KL. And they're like, yeah, right. And just then, I was like, oh, you know, someone's watching for me here. So anytime you want me to move over, phone me, I'm coming. So my talk is a little bit different. I want to show you what can go wrong and what you can do when it goes wrong. And I want to show you what you plan and how it unplans. And I want to show you how you plan to go and focus here and you end up over here somewhere, like out that window. That's my theory. I don't talk with presentations because I hate them, and I'm really bad at them because I forget to look at them and things. And I sometimes use minor swear words. I just need to confess this now. I'll use something like the word crap. We'll just have to get over it because that's how I speak. I'm really sorry. I will try really hard not to use it again, but it's possible. And it's not personal. So, my name's Geeta Siduro. I grew up in Africa, in Malawi, and I'm Indian. I am one of the third, fourth wave of immigrants that came out from Britain to Africa to build railways, infrastructure, everything like that. And because I'm Indian, I had very few choices growing up, and particularly being an Indian woman. You know, it was law, accountancy, medicine, marriage, or death. It was very simple. You know, we had lines drawn up to there, and it was like, oh, how long do I have to speak? Do you want, how long, is it 15 minutes?
10, around 10 to 15, yeah.
Okay, I'm a woman, 15. He's a guy. So I was like, oh, okay then, and preferably get married as well, or die, right? So you know, you all, the women at least, you know what this is like. So I went and became a lawyer. I didn't like blood. I hated the thought of being an accountant. I really did. I was like, I was never going to look that good, right? So I was like, okay, I'll go do law. I did. And in fact, I think my father wanted us to be lawyers so much, everybody became a lawyer. So I was like, it's bullying and child abuse. But here we all are. I really didn't enjoy it. I was at Freshfields. I came out of the LSE. I did a postgrad in, I can't remember, international finance law. Yeah, it was, you know, I just kind of did my thing, and I became a corporate lawyer, and I worked, and I sort of clocked my hours, and I did this stuff, and I just thought, oh, somebody shoot me, it's awful. I absolutely hated it. I just did it because that's what I had to do, and then I got married, and I hated that even more. I was like, somebody really has to shoot me. In fact, I hated it all so much, I upped and left and went to Moscow. I did. I literally, one day I was in London, the next day I was in Moscow. I had some friends from the LSE who said, they were American, we're going to Moscow, you want to come? I'm like, yes! It's far, no one can find me, it was a great idea. I left. I left everything, you know, so I was a complete outcast. You know, my mother pretended I was in another country, and you know, my father just pretended I was still married. My uncle pretended I was still a lawyer. I mean, you know, everybody just lied about me all the time. You know what this is like. I was still doing what I was meant to do, and they were just going to pretend until I came back and did it again. And Moscow was fantastic because there were no rules and no laws, and I was a lawyer, and they were like, okay, you know, do something. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm really good at talking. So I set up corporate negotiation. As a thing. I set up the first Russian bank in the British Virgin Islands. Let's not tell anyone about that. But that's what I did. Now, what I did was I ended up doing, to make it more serious, I did 400 or 500 million pound aviation deals. I sold oil rigs, I bought oil companies, I set up banks. People would come and say, can you do this? I'd be like, oh yeah. You know, and I'd be around the corner thinking, how do you do that? You know, that was us in the back there. And then they'd pay you with boxes of money. And you'd be like, oh, now what do we do? You know, so we had no idea what we were doing, but I got very, very, very good at it. I'm extremely good at corporate negotiating. I can negotiate anything, anyhow, anywhere, anytime, I swear to you. Particularly when there's a room of about 600 men with beards and guns, I'm fantastic. And then I thought, well, really, this isn't a life, is it really? I should just go home and do something intelligent. I've been there like 5 years for it. Yeltsin, the White House was stormed, tanks going down. And I was like, I must go home. So I came back and I ran for Parliament here. I was the first Indian woman in the Conservative Party that stood for Parliament, which is why I don't do presentations anymore. I did so many of them. I was like, oh, yes, yes, yes. So I did that for a little bit. And then I had children. And now it's very different for men and women. Let nobody tell you that it isn't. I mean, if you look at statistics in law firms, something like 72%, I'm making this up, but you know, generally 72% of women in law school, people in law school, 72% are women. You hit law firms, and you've had about 67% in the first 2 years. When you hit year 5, it's like 50%. You hit year 7, there's like 12 of them, okay? I mean, it just really sucks, because it's not compatible with having children. It isn't. I mean, I had these children, and I was working, and I was like, who are you again? Oh yeah, I gave birth to you. I mean, oh my God, I couldn't see them. And in this day and age, as women, you're almost as likely to be picking up the bills as the men are. You know? So you've got to have the babies. You've got to look. I mean, I'm sorry if this is a slightly untraditional approach, but this is my life, and you invited me somewhere to talk. And if you don't want me, I have no way in. But this is the truth of how it actually works. This is a fantastic opportunity, what she's created and what she's done. And that's how you know, we're the exact opposite. I could not create that life. I didn't want to do it. I didn't know how to do it. And I wanted to see my children. I really did. That's why I had them. I wanted to see my house. I used to work from like 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and that was on Saturday, okay? I was like, I just would like someone to shoot me. I'm not doing this anymore. So my son was born, and he was very ill. I spent 267 days out of 365 in hospital. It really sucked. I mean, I was bridesmaid to the emergency nurse. Okay, this is how long this was. I was just like, oh my God, imagine what I thought, somebody shoot me. And so I went from there, and I was like, oh, must be another way to do this. So I went back to what I knew what to do, because I had to pick up bills. My son was, I had now, again, got remarried. I had my son, I had 2 other girls, and I was just in a position where it's like, oh my God, I had to pick up school fees. You know school fees in this country? Hello, remember how much? Oh my God. You could set up a national debt of Brazil without school fees. So there's school fees, there's food, there's this, I've got to pay for all this stuff. I'm like, should I go back to law firms? No, let's not do that. So I thought, what do I know how to do? I went back to corporate negotiating. And I made money out of doing that, and again, I'm very good at it. I got paid a lot to do it, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wasn't helping anybody. I wasn't looking after my kids. I wasn't feeling like a woman and a successful human being, because that's really what matters. When you go to sleep at night, you've got to like yourself. When you wake up in the morning, you have to like yourself, because if you don't like yourself, nobody else is going to like you. Whatever they tell you, they're not going to like. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Of course, you're not. So you just have to be aware of where you are. So I made a lot of money again, and I had a private plane, I had a house in Monaco, I had a Ferrari with a roof, I had a Ferrari without a roof. I had a blue Bentley, and I had a light blue Bentley with no roof, and I had a black one that kind of was a different model. I'm a girl, I don't know, just I had 4 wheels, it looked nice. And I lived like this, and again, I found that I just didn't like my life very much. I wasn't enjoying it, and I thought, ugh. And my son kept getting ill, and it was just really, really uncomfortable. And I wasn't enjoying where I was. Now, there were normal people that would just think, oh, it's okay, I'll carry on. What did I do? I left. I left everything. I walked away. And we ended up, my children and I, from the result of these choices that I made. You're looking confused. Did I miss a bit out?
No?
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay, if I missed a bit out, there's a lot of stuff there. If I miss something, now ask me. We ended up homeless in 2005. Homeless, bankrupt. I lost my job because I was bankrupt. My mother told me to get lost because I was an Indian woman who wasn't, you remember law, can't see, finance or die, the married. So my mother's like, I've had enough. You just don't do what you're told. You don't do what I expect you to do. And you just don't bloody do what you're meant to do. Out. I was like, that's difficult. So that was a little tough. So I stayed in a friend's house. She lent me her house, in a bedroom. And I slept on the floor for 6 months. I taught yoga for 6 months. Let me tell you, don't let me teach you yoga. I taught yoga to children. They were really small and they didn't know any better. But I had to pay bills. I had to pay bills. And I had a private plane, remember? And then I was teaching yoga. I'm like, oh God. There must be better ways to do this. I told you, right? You end up, when you think you're going to be here, and you end up over there somewhere. So I taught yoga for 6 months. I'm really good at yoga. Now, then I wasn't. I did anything. I'm really good on TV because it's a skill set I have. So I rang up TV companies going, hi, remember me? Give me a... So I ended up in really weird situations where we had absolutely no money, and I'd do a TV show with Stelios from EasyJet. And you're just thinking, okay, I'm really schizophrenic. But they would pay me £3,000 to do one show, and I do not recommend this as a way of life. I prefer that life. So this part was very painful. It was very difficult. It was highly uncomfortable to not be part of my culture, my society, my upbringing.